Hey guys, how's everybody doing today? Hope y'all are doing great. Your assignment for this week was chapter 8 in the book. It was to do the key terms, define those, and then I believe it was the first 10 questions of the review at the end of the chapter. So do the key terms, do the 10 questions, read through this book. But I wanted to make this little video kind of going over some things about a plasma cutter, show you some parts, the consumables, and try to familiarize you with them. I know familiarize you with them a little more. I know we've used it some in class, but I figure it couldn't hurt to take a more in-depth look at it. So a little cool fact, the plasma is known as the fourth state of matter. So you got a liquid, solid, gas, and then plasma. Plasma cutter uses compressed air and electricity to make cuts. There's a lot of different plasma cutters out there. Depending on if you wanted to buy one for yourself, it would depend on what you're doing. They range. You can get some cheap, junky ones off the internet for about $500, or you can spend $10,000. It really just depends on what your needs are. The one we're going to be using today is a PowerMax 45. It's a Hypertherm PowerMax 45. In my opinion, Hypertherm is the leader in the field when it comes to plasma cutting. There's Thermodynamics makes a really good one. Lincoln makes their own. I think it's called a Tomahawk. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Miller makes one. There's a bunch out there, and then there's all different kinds of brand names. One of the most important things to keep in mind if you were going to purchase one for yourself is I would look at how popular it is. And what I mean by that is, they have consumables, just like any welder, anything else. You're going to need to be able to buy those things. And, if you get Hypertherm, Thermodynamics, some of the Millers and Lincolns, most welding supply houses should have that stuff in stock. But if I've got my book out here, if you guys want to open up to chapter 8, and then go to page 195, you'll see a breakdown of all the components there of the plasma torch right here. This is one of their newer torches. It's got a lot more safety features on it. So you got the little deal to flip up there before you can pull the trigger, but you also have a switch on the back. And if you see yellow, it won't cut. You have to push that up till you see the green, and then it'll cut. All right, so let's take this torch apart. Whole assembly just unscrews. We'll just lay them out here and then we'll go over them one by one. How's that? All right, that's what it looks like when you get it all taken apart, okay? So first we have the swirl ring. That right there is your swirl ring. Not much to it. Swirl ring doesn't really wear out a whole bunch. Every now and then you'll need to replace it, but not that often. Swirl ring goes in first, pushes down in there like so. Next you have the electrode. And depending on which ones you get, which style, they don't all have a little spring there on them. So there's a lot of different variations. But this is, the electrode, consider this your contact tip. It's got a little hole there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Anyways, over time, that hole will get worn out. It'll get oblong, it'll get misshapen, and that is gonna affect the quality and accuracy of your cuts quite a bit. When these are new, they make really nice, precise, thin cuts, the kerf, the width. And as they wear, they'll get, your cuts will get a little wider, and they may not be cutting straight down. So it's probably going to be one of your top items that wears out. And a lot of this depends on the user too. If you take really good care of your equipment and are easy with it, then they will last a lot longer than if you weren't, if you were careless. So next we have the nozzle. And this nozzle is pretty worn out. This is one we've been using in class. So I don't know how much more life this one has in it, but we're gonna go ahead and give it a shot anyways and see how it does. Now you have the retaining cap, which is the next piece. That's what the retaining caps look like. And then very rarely do I see a retaining cap that wears out or needs to be replaced. Normally, the torch will be dropped and this will crack or break, and then you'll have to replace it. And then you have the shield, and this one is very, very ugly. So this is a drag shield, and it's got these kind of grooves all around the top. So what those are for is you can put that onto your piece of metal as you're cutting and drag it along, and it keeps the tip off of your workpiece. So normally, if you're not using a drag shield, you don't want to use, you don't want your torch to touch your workpiece, because it'll wear it out really quick. I mean, super quick. And they make devices you can put on these torches they just clip on there to where it'll keep it up off of your workpiece, so you don't have to worry about that if you don't have a drag tip. So put this back together. Everything just screws on there, and then lastly is the shield. All right, and there she is back together, ready to cut.